Tonight, a special edition of Inside Drag Racing as we pay tribute to men who have shaped the world of drag racing. Hi, everybody. I'm Doc Riley, and welcome to the Mopar International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony for 2007. Tonight, 10 people will be inducted into the hall, and one person will receive a Founders Award. Let's get right to the action. At the podium, Kenny Bernstein.
The fans. Can't say enough about what it means and how far it's gone and what it's grown to, and the fans and what they do for us. How nice they've been to me on this return back. I really worried about that. I worried that I would offend some people, that I just didn't leave to come back. I missed it. I missed that driving. I missed that competition. I missed that challenge that was there. That's what drives me all the time. And they've been so gracious to understand that. It's been wonderful. So I thank them for everything that they've brought back to me and invigoration that they've given me every weekend by saying, we're glad you're back. But thank you so very much. Enjoy your evening. Congratulations to all the inductees and the past ones. They all deserve it. Thank you so very, very much.
Big Daddy Don Garlits is standing by at the Museum of Drag Racing in Ocala, Florida, and he's got information on our next inductee, Mr. Frank Bradley.
Our next inductee, Frank Bradley, better known as the Beard, hails from Napa, California, and he was one of the fiercest competitors in the American Hot Rod Association World Championship Series of anybody I've ever known. And I'll tell you, when you raced Frank Bradley, you had to put it on the wood and you had to let it all hang out. And he was fierce. And he was good on innovation, too. He was always coming up with some trick ideas for Top Fuel dragsters. We used to go over to his pitch and watch Frank very closely. So he's been around a long time, and he's a very deserving inductee into the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame.
I'd like to thank Don Garlits for paying for my motel rooms and my airplane tickets and everything out here. I really appreciate that, Don. Thank you. Yeah, it's on your credit card, too. I'd also like to acknowledge the people that helped me in my drag racing career. I've been asked over the years if you're ever afraid. Well, the only thing I was ever afraid of is having to go back to work someday, which didn't happen, thank God.
The ARP Quarter Mile Quiz with Butch McCall offers you a chance to win a Quarter Mile Quiz sweatshirt while testing your knowledge of drag racing. Brought to you by ARP, the world leader in racing fastener technology.
Quarter Mile Quiz. Well, with me is Hillary Will, NHRA Top Fuel driver. I wonder if you'd help me with this week's ARP Quarter Mile Quiz question. It came in to us from Monty Harris of Fairborn, Ohio, and he said he wants to know how you get hooked up with an NHRA Top Fuel team as a driver. He's going to school now to learn to drive Top Fuel, but so tell us, how did you get your ride?
There's not one set way to do it, but I graduated college and then started a Top Alcohol Dragster team with my family, and we worked really hard. I basically dedicated my life to it. I did my own PR work, and we started winning a lot, and I did whatever I could to get our team name out there because I was trying to get sponsors. And with anything, it has a lot to do. You want to know as many people as possible, and thankfully for me, Ken Black was putting together a Top Fuel team in the Coletta Motorsports, and they heard about me because I was getting our name out there, and we were, I tried to be the best driver I could be, and we were successful, and they asked me to drive their Top Fuel dragster, and fortunately, here I am.
Now, you went to school also to learn to drive?
Oh, I did. I went to the Frank Hawley Top Alcohol Dragster School, and that was very helpful also. I saved up for a couple years for it, and it's the best money I ever spent.
Well, Monty, sounds like you're doing it right. Well, go learn to drive, and then go out and make a name for yourself.
Do you have a question for our ARP Quarter Mile Quizmaster? We'll send it to the address you see on the screen, and you might be lucky enough to win an ARP Quarter Mile Quiz sweatshirt. Inside Drag Racing is brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment, the World Speed Shop. By ARP, the world leader in racing fastener technology. And by Dupli-color, the leader in automotive paints, primers, and coatings. Yes, you can with Dupli-color. Welcome back to the Mopar International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The camera behind me, well, it kind of symbolizes the next person that's getting inducted into the Great Hall. This person has been a drag racer, a sanctioning body owner, and the executive producer of Inside Drag Racing. With great pleasure, we send it to the podium and Mr. Ted Jones.
I have to thank my daughters, Holly and Linda Faye, and I'll tell you why. Because I was always at a drag race every weekend, whether it was as a track operator or whether it was with the sanctioning body or shooting TV. And there's a lot of things I didn't get to do with my daughters, and they never, ever complained. You could see the influence was there. They found out if they wanted to spend some time with Dad, they had to go to the drag races, so they did. And you could see it because, for instance, when Holly's little friends came over and said, and she's just a little girl, you know, let's watch a movie, let's watch Cinderella. She said, no, let's watch Heart Like a Wheel. Again. The child wore out 3 videos of that movie. And my oldest daughter, Linda Faye, when the kids would come over and they want to talk about Barbie doll collections, and let me show you my spark plug collection. She had a spark plug collection. This one came from Big Daddy's car. This one came from TV Tommy's car. This one came from the Grumps car. It was absolutely amazing. Fast forward 30 years, this same child that had a spark plug collection is now a special judge in common pleas court presiding in Nashville, Tennessee. And there's 2 guys arguing over an engine. And the guy says, Your Honor, in order for you to understand the problem with this engine, it's going to be necessary for me to explain to you how a camshaft functions and what it does in an engine. She looked at him and she said, that won't be necessary. I know exactly what a camshaft does. I was raised at a drag strip. And I'm back there in the back of the courtroom going, you tell him, Judge. You didn't learn that at law school.
Our next inductee, Jim McClellan, had a great and storied history as a driver and as a drag strip owner. In 1957, Jim opened the doors to Champion Speed Shop in San Francisco. That's also the home of the first dragsters that he built, the Champion Speed Shop blown small block Chevrolet-powered top fuel dragsters. Jim was one of the very first racers to wear a fire suit. Not content to be a speed shop owner or racer, he also opened Half Moon Bay Drag Strip.
You know, in preparing for this, it's tough. I mean, when you lose your dad, but there's a part of him that will always be with us, and there was a part of him that he just loved drag racing. You know, towards the end, I mean, you talk to him and his eyes would light up. Just at the mention of, you know, how we did at the track and how are people doing and so forth. He would want to thank Don Garlits and Pat for everything that they've done for drag racing and for the McLennan family and promoting drag racing in Northern California. I don't think Don ever said no to Dad with the famous Garlits versus Prudhomme Little Red Wagon events at Half Moon Bay and Fremont. Don, thank you. Thank you for being a part of our family. Thank you for everything that you've done for all of us.
Our next inductee is Davey O'Hara. He is a chassis builder supreme. And I guess what you have to say is how good a person is whether you would use his product. Well, in 1981, I was not running the AHRA circuit because I didn't have a reverser in Swamp Rat 26. Well, I decided that I wanted to run the Winter Nationals, so I went down to Davey O'Hara's shop in Northern California, and he put the back half on Swamp Rat 26 so that I could put a reverser in the car and run the NHRA circuit. That was the last time we ever had to back half the car because, let me tell you, Davey built one fine rear half of car. It was strong, and it did a good job. A wonderful, likable guy, still building cars to this day. Davey O'Hara, a very deserving inductee.
It doesn't take just one person to make this whole thing happen. There are my friends and family that stuck by me, my employees that have made me what I am today. You don't do it all alone. It takes all those people to make it happen. And I want to thank my daughter, Christina, who's here tonight, came all the way back here for me. She stuck with me all these years. I have not been the best father figure in her life, but she's still with me, and I really thank her for being here. Thank Don Garlits for this event. I mean, it couldn't happen without Don, I don't think. And the whole Hall of Fame, International Hall of Fame, it's a great honor to be here. And I thank you.
the NHRA Sportsman Spotlight with Bob Fry, featuring a closer look at NHRA sportsman drag racers and their racing activities at different drag strips across the nation. Brought to you by Dupli-color, the leader in automotive paints, primers, and coatings.
One of the intriguing stories in the alcohol funny car pit area this year centers around Marty Nothstein. Marty's driving the Parker family team car sponsored by Texas Roadhouse. Nobody loves the outdoors more than this guy, an Olympic gold medal cyclist. And you tell me everybody out here is just tickled to death that the drag racing's on the Outdoor Channel because you guys love it. And everybody here is a big outdoors fan, huh?
Oh yeah, we got a crew full of outdoorsmen, myself included. I'm a big archery hunter. I love going out west every year and chasing deer and ducks. And if I'm not spending time thinking about drag racing, or in my prior career racing bicycles, I was always outside hunting and fishing.
Of course, now you're going to spend this weekend chasing like Frank Manzo and Bob Newberry, but you got a great team here.
You know what? There's some pretty big fish to catch right there, you know, but we're going to do our best on our end. You know, we got a great team behind me, and I'm just going to do my job as a driver. And, you know, we're sneaking up on them. We won in Bradenton, and we look forward to the rest of the year.
Tell us what it's like to be with this team, because they really have the best of everything.
They really do have the best of everything, and one thing they really have, which is superior than most of the other teams out here, is a great attitude, you know, and with a good attitude and good equipment, you know, good things happen. So again, I couldn't be more excited about the season.
Olympic gold medalist, alcohol funny car racer, avid outdoorsman. Next time we get a chance to talk to him, we'll talk to him about the one that got away. Had to be at least one that got away.
Welcome back to Gainesville, Florida, the Mopar International Drag Racing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. One man has had great success both as a driver and as a team owner, and he continues to add to those numbers. They call him the Shoe. It is Don Schumacher.
It's like a drug. I mean, you get it in your system and you can't get away from it. Well, Tony got me back in it. We put together a sponsorship with Exide. It's now going on to the U.S. Army and all of my other sponsors. And Tony's done a tremendous job. He's one of the best speakers in the sport, presents himself the best. Without him pushing me to this and dragging me back into the sport, I wouldn't be here today. It's because of Tony that I'm back here, but it's because of all of the sponsors, the great support that I have from all of my children. Tony, Tara, Samantha, Megan, support I have from my wife, Sarah. Without your family, there's no way one of us could do this out here.
Our next inductee is Don Hampton from California. And if you want to see a real pioneer, this is a man. He goes all the way back to 1959 when I showed up at Bakersfield, California with Swamp Rat 1. The first car that I raced was Donnie Hampton, and he had a supercharger on that early Chrysler Hemi V8. Now, that was before superchargers were even fashionable. In fact, they didn't even have tires that were good enough in those days to get a good traction. Donnie Hampton, a very deserving inductee.
I started the blower business in 1957. Been doing it now 50 years. I've innovated a lot of different things. I've kind of bowed out of the actual race stuff with Top Fuel and Funny Car. I don't want to contend with it. I'm too old. But I do kick butt in all the boats, tractor pullers, mud boggers, all that. We hold all the records with my blowers. So, hey, I'm quite happy. And I've got a lovely family. Been keeping them with me side by side. And it's just been great. So, you know, like I say, I'm not much of a talker, but it's been nice.
Our next inductee is a man who is a hot rodder, a drag race competitor, and the longest-serving division director in NHRA history, Daryl Zimmerman. He wrote the first rule book, designed 27 drag strips, and continues to serve the sport as a consultant. Yours for a bigger, better, and safer sport.
First off, to thank Don and Pat Garlits for forming the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame, and the selecting committee for selecting the new members for this year. Also want to thank Wally and Barbara Parks for having me be part of NHRA for the past 50 years. And I especially want to thank my wife, Polly. We was married in 1957. Basically went to work for NHRA in 1957. And 2 weeks ago, we celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Next inductee has been called the best funny car driver of all time. He's a guy that gets behind the wheel and has had several championships with IHRA and some pretty good NHRA event wins. Our current inductee of the 2007 Championship Hall of Fame is Mr. Dale Poldy.
I just like to thank everybody. Thank Valerie Harrell, my girlfriend, her kids. Everybody stands behind me, my parents. I'm sure I left out a whole bunch of people, but that's probably about all I can say. One thing that didn't work, Doug Cruzy told me, he said, well, just picture the audience like like they're naked. That didn't happen. Celsi and I both know we've undressed everybody's wife, girlfriend, or daughter daily all the time, so it didn't work. So thank you, everybody. I really do appreciate it. It's been great.
We will continue with more coverage of the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame after this timeout. You're watching the Outdoor Channel.
The Performance Tip. Professional tips on the latest performance technology available with NHRA Pro Stock champion Greg Anderson. Items featured on the Performance Tip are available from Summit Racing Equipment, the world speed shop.
Today's Summit Racing Equipment Performance Tip centers on brakes. And here we are with Mike from Stainless Steel Brakes to talk about some very impressive looking brakes. And obviously everyone knows how important it is to get your race car hauler to and from the racetrack. Why is it so important to have great brakes on your hauler, Mike?
Well, what everybody doesn't realize is that the vehicles are designed with stock brakes and they're designed within the weight loads. But we have a tendency when we go racing on there, and I myself am doing the same thing. We load toolboxes, generators, coolers full of ice, extra things that you might want to take along. You got all sorts of extra toolboxes. You got cars, extra set of tires. By the time you get done, you're really overloaded on there, and you got way more weight than the vehicle's originally designed for. So what's happening is now, as you go down a hill or in areas where you need to panic brake, you don't have that kind of braking stopping power, and what's happening is your vehicle is taking longer to stop. In some cases, it might be 30, 40 feet, which is the length of your trailer. So now what we've done here is we've gone through and developed a program where we have new calipers that are aluminum, which will reduce your weight, give you a better ride quality, but also are much bigger and fit in a stock wheel. So you're able to use stock rotors, in some cases even stock pads, but everything is there is basically untouched, but we give you a bigger caliper with up to 35% more braking horsepower.
And it looks like we have exciting products for pretty much every application, any hauler you might have.
That's correct, yeah. We have the GM 1 ton and 3/4. I have the Ford 1 ton and 3/4 ton, and then in the spring we're going to be launching the new Dodge program featuring our 8-piston caliper. It'll be a big, massive caliper. You want to press your friends, it's on there, but I'll tell you what, it'll fit in a stock rim.
There you have it, folks. Very important to get that hauler to the racetrack. Can't race if you don't get to the racetrack. For more information on these exciting products, check out the Stainless Steel Brake website at the end of our show, or go to the Summit Racing catalog.
Our next inductee is Dave Zuchel. Now, we lost Zuchel at an early age, and that's a real crime because he was one of the finest engine builders there was. And the Ivo Zuchel team were very formidable. If we hadn't have lost Dave Zuchel early on, the Ivo Zuchel team might have went on to become world champions. He built all of Ivo's engines, and let me tell you, they ran good. And these are the early engines that he built, the Buicks, but later on they went to the blown Chryslers. And I'll tell you what, when we raced them with Swamp Rat 3, it was nip and tuck. No one knew who was going to win because Zuchel really knew how to build a fuel motor. He had his own P-51, and he died in a crash in it, and it was a shame because if Zuchel was around today, he'd be right out there with the best of them, mixing it up in top fuel at the NHRA drags.
I want to thank everybody for thinking of our father this far after the fact. He's been out of drag racing for 40 some odd years, and he will have left us from this earth 20 years next month. So it's very nice that you thought of him, and drag racing was always his passion. Even though he went on to boats and planes and different things like that, when he would see you guys on TV, he'd tell all sorts of stories and we'd say them right with him. So he would be flattered too, and I'm happy to accept this for him. And I think that's it. I don't have any good stories because I was 3.
This year, the Founders Award was presented to Bill Bader. Bill started his racing career back in 1962 at an oval track, and he brought that knowledge to Norwalk Raceway Park, where he unleashed the Halloween Classic and the Night of Fire, legendary drag racing events. Bill instituted a number of firsts. He purchased the IHRA and made that a racer-friendly establishment that would provide the best possible show for the fans.
My dad passed away in 1977, and he never understood drag racing. He never understood my involvement in drag racing. He used to come and talk to me. He worked. He knew how to do one thing: get up in the morning, work, go to bed at night, take care of your family, and he was very influential in the church. He tried to tell me, Billy, you need to get a job. You have a wife, you have children. You can't do this. And I said, Dad, it'll be okay. The good Lord took him home. He didn't get married, he was 35. He didn't have me till he was 40. So my younger brother, he was 60 years old, raising a teenager. I know my dad, if he were alive, would be proud tonight. I looked and turned this ball over to Tom Compton and Graham Light and the folks at NHRA as I see our sport evolving into a major league franchise. I know that the future is incredibly bright, and under the guidance and help of everyone here and all those folks that were now following us and giving us this platform to play ball in, the future is ours for the taking. Thank you very much.
Inside Drag Racing is brought to you by Granatelli Motorsports, the mass airflow sensor experts, by the O'Reilly Auto Parts, Masters Auto Expo, June 21st through the 23rd in Moorhead, Kentucky, and by United Specialties, home of the trendsetters. Next week, we'll have coverage of the NMCA season opener from Bradenton, Florida. For information on the products you've seen on the programs, please consult these websites. Inside Drag Racing is a presentation of Masters Entertainment Group.